Welcome back. After. The bell above Bonnie Bagel's old-fashioned door gives a tinkling chime as Hannah pushes it open. Inside, she stands for a moment, catching her breath and waiting for her glasses to unfog. As the lenses clear, she glances around the little cafe. There's no one here, even though she's 10 minutes late. For a second, her heart lightens. Maybe he's given up, gone home. She won't hang around to find out. She'll send him an email. I'm here, but I must have missed you. She is about to turn on her heel, breathing more easily with a palpable sense of having discharged her duty to the young man, when a woman hurries out from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. Hello, love. Sorry, I didn't hear you come in. Where would you be wanting to sit? Well, Hannah hesitated. Actually, I'm here to meet a friend, but I think I've missed him. I should probably... She's turning towards the door when the woman interrupts cheerfully, happy to be of help. Young man with sandy hair? No, you haven't missed him. He's just in the back room there. Said you'd be wanting to talk, so could have a quiet... Said you'd be wanting to talk so could have a quiet table. Mine, they're all that way today. I don't know what's making the tourists so shy. It can be the rain, for we've had none to speak of. She got an accent, it's hard for me to read it. She gives a comfortable laugh. Hannah feels her face fall and then tries to rearrange it into something more appropriate for someone who just avoided a wasted journey. Oh, good, thank you, she said weakly. Will I bring you up a cup of something? Tea, coffee, or a scone maybe? I'll just have a bottle of mineral water, please, Hannah says, flat. The woman nods. I'll bring it up, love. It's just through there, up the stairs. Hannah nods back, then hitches her bag over her shoulder and makes her way through the arch the woman indicated and up a half flight of stairs. Jarrett is sitting at a table by the window, though he stands as she comes in. Hannah, hi. The sun is shining through the window and it turns the tip of his ears pink, making it look as though he's blushing, though she's not sure if he is. Hi, she said awkwardly. He pulls out a chair and makes a little gesture and she sits, feeling like an idiot and beginning to wonder if this was a huge mistake. She's grateful for the privacy, but she hadn't bargained on being tucked away at the back of the cafe like this. It's going to be very difficult to make a quick getaway if the conversation takes a turn she doesn't like. There's a brief pause. Do you want to see the menu? Durant asks. Hannah shakes her head. No, it's fine, thank you. I already ordered downstairs. How are you? It's a stupid question, meaningless really, but she doesn't know what else to say, and apparently neither does Durant because he seizes on it gratefully. Yeah, good. Really happy that you agreed to come and meet with me. I just wanted to say that I know it was, I wasn't expecting. You didn't really give me any choice, she thinks, resentfully, but she's finding it hard to resent him now that they're face to face. He looks so anxious and unthreatening, so nice. That's what gets you. You said you're a friend of Ryan's, she says at last when he runs out of steam and Durant nods. Yeah, he was working at the Herald when I started there after uni, and he was, I guess you'd call him my mentor. He looks down at his hands, his face suddenly seeming years older. He's such a good bloke. I felt terrible about what happened. Yeah, me too, Hannah says softly. How? She swallows. How is he? Good, I think. It was pretty awful at first. I used to go and visit him in that horrible place. You know, the one that smelled of cabbage. Hannah nods, but it's a kind of a lie. She doesn't know the place Durant is talking about. She is painfully aware of the way she and Will let Ryan down, although that's not completely fair on Will. Left to his own devices, Will, she is fairly sure, would have kept in touch with the others, the way he kept up with Hugh. It was she who fled England, she who dropped ties with everyone from Pelham, refusing to go back to dredge up memories. Will had wanted to invite Ryan and Emily to their wedding, make it a proper catch up with save the date cards and a hotel in the borders. It was Hannah who pushed for the registry office, just Hugh as as best man and her father to give her away. And Will, as he always does, agreed, not wanting to cause her pain. But now, listening to Durant chatting on about Ryan's grueling journey back from his stroke, she realized what they did, what she did. And she feels a sharp stab of something halfway between grief and guilt. But he's really enjoying being back home with Bella, Durant finishes. I know that's made a huge difference. That and the fact that he can talk and type again. I think he was going up the wall, not able to speak or write for someone like him. I mean, he's never exactly held back from giving his opinion, has he? Hannah laughs at that, a shaky laugh, but a real one, because it's true, and because, black as it is, she can see the humor in poor Ryan, the person who always talked longest and loudest at any party, the person who would pin you against the wall in the kitchen to harangue you about late-stage capitalism, Engels and Marx, being silent against his own will, having to listen to all the nurses chattering on without a single "I think you'll find," or "Look, love, if you haven't read David Graeber." No, she says now. That's true. There's a long silence. Durant stirs his coffee, staring down into the depths as though he can find a conversation starter in there if he swirls the murky liquid hard enough. He looks for a moment as if he might be able to speak, but then there are footsteps on the stairs, and they both turn to see the cafe owner coming through the doorway with a bottle of mineral water and a glass of ice balanced slightly, precariously on a tray. She puts it down on a little table and then smiles at them both. "There you are, loves. Anything else? You just give me a shout. I'm only downstairs. I'll hear you. I'll leave you be now." And then she departs. Hannah opens the water and pours it, more to have something to do than because she is really thirsty. And then because she has the increased feeling that if she doesn't bring it up, they will never get to the point. She says, "So, what did you want to ask me?" Durant flushes, and for a moment there is a flicker of almost absurd relief on his face, as though she has absolved him of something. He swallows his coffee with determination and speaks. "So, yes. First of all, thanks for agreeing to talk about this. I can't imagine how difficult it must be to revisit all this so many years on." Amen, Hannah thinks, but she says nothing, only waits for him to continue. So a bit of background about me. I first heard about the case when I was a teenager, and I guess I was just fascinated, really. I was a bit of a morbid kid, and there was something about it. Something about April, he trails off. I bet there was, Hannah thinks. But again, she does not say it. She knows, though, exactly what that something was that Durant is talking about. The shots of April's lovely high cheekbone face, the photographs of her lounging on the banks of the Isis, one shoulder bare as the strap of her top slipped down her arm. April was very spotty young teenager fantasy girlfriend, and the fact that she had been murdered probably only made her more unattainable and therefore safer to desire. So anyway, Durant is saying, I kept reading accounts of the case, and earlier this year, I did this long-form article about it. It was called Death of an It Girl. 10 years on, 10 unanswered questions, and maybe you read it? Hannah shakes her head. She's unsure whether to be honest, whether to tell Durant that she hasn't read any press about April's murder for years, but Durant is still talking. The piece went kind of viral, and well, long story short, I've been commissioned to do a 10-part podcast on the case. Okay, Hannah says slowly. She's not sure why, but a podcast makes her feel even more uneasy than an article. Then something occurs to her. You're not recording this conversation, are you? No, Jarrett says a little awkwardly. Not yet. That's to say, I usually do record stuff just for my own records, but I wouldn't broadcast anything from today. I'm still in the research stage. Would you rather I didn't? I can just take notes if it makes you feel more comfortable. Yes, I would prefer that, Hannah says a little stiffly. She knows she's being irrational. What's the difference between a quote on paper versus recorded on a phone? And yet the idea of Jarrett capturing her trembling voice talking about that night, it feels unbearable. Okay, sure, Jarrett says. He put his phone away and takes out a pen and notebook. Look, I want to be really clear. I don't want this to be a whitewash. I'm not out to prove Neville's innocence if he really did it. In fact, that's why I want to talk to you. Make sure I did justice to the case against him. I just want to understand what happened. There's gaps I've never been able to fill in. Hannah says nothing at that. She is holding the water glass so tight her fingers are white. Would you mind just going over what happened that night? Jarrett asks now. His expression is different, and he is twisting his fingers together, playing with his pens. Hannah takes a deep breath. This is not new. It's all stuff she has gone over 1,000 times before. You would think the pain would have dulled, but it hasn't, or not completely. Still, it's better if she just gives Jarrett chapter and a verse, and then he can go away and get rid of whatever little conspiracy theory he dreamed up. It was late. I've been in the college bar. Hugh was there, and so was Ryan. Emily was working on some papers in the library. Will wasn't in college. He gone home for the weekend. It was the last night of April's play, Medea, and we arranged a celebration, special cocktails and everything. And about 3/4 of the way through the evening, April went up to our room to change, and she never came back. So I went to find her. She closes her eyes, remembering the feel of the grass beneath her feet as she and Hugh ran lightly across the Fellows' garden. The glow coming from April's bedroom window as they crossed the quad. And then Neville, slipping out of the opening to the number 7 staircase, his steps surprisingly quiet for such a big man. She had stopped, frozen, half expecting him to see her, but if he did, he gave no sign of it. He just turned and hurried off into the night, and she had continued to the foot of the stairwell. And then, I climbed the stairs up to our landing, and the door was open. Her voice sounded strange in her own ears. Just like before, just like that night when I came back and found Neville there, waiting. I should have known something was wrong, but I didn't. I didn't suspect anything. Even though he'd been on the stairs, I should have known. The pictures come now, seared into her memory, like images seen in flashes of lighting. Her hand on the door, a fan of dark hair, April's Medea wig splayed across the rug, and then. But that's where it cuts out. The mind protects itself from what is too painful to face. A psychologist told her once, which made the fury rise up inside her, because that sounds like she wants to forget, like it's an act of supreme selfishness. I don't remember much after that, she says now. She put the glass to her lips and take a long swallow, feeling the ice water numbing her throat and shooting needles of pain through her teeth. So it's never come back? Garrett says, scribbling, and she shakes her head. Flashes, sometimes, in dreams, but I'm never sure how much of that is memory or how much of it's just my mind reconstructing what it thinks I saw. Nothing I can rely on. I definitely saw Neville, though, coming down the stairs from our room. That I'm absolutely certain of. The thing is, John Neville came from my town, Jarrett says now. Hannah looks up from her water. He did? Yes. His mom lived around the corner from my aunt, and obviously that doesn't make him innocent, but I suppose it gave me a different kind of perspective on him. I heard all about his defense case and the holes in the prosecution. It's not just the crime scene stuff, although that's odd enough. The fact that they never found any traces of Neville's DNA on April is something no one ever really explained. Okay, the killer could have used gloves, but it doesn't seem credible that Neville could have strangled April without her clawing at him or fighting back. For that matter, no one heard a struggle at all, even though there were people in the room below. But it's not just that. There were loads of other angles the defense never brought up. For example, did you know that April was supposedly pregnant when she died? Oh, there is a clatter. Hannah has knocked over the glass bottle of water. Fortunately, is empty and near enough, and now she scrambles to pick it up before it rolls off the table, her cheeks flaming, trying to figure out what she's going to say to this extraordinary assertion. Sorry, Jarrett is saying, as though it were he who knocked over the bottle. He moves his notebook, mops at the small puddle of water with his napkin. Sorry. I take it you didn't know? No, Hannah says thinly. She goes to put her hand over her own stomach, then she stops herself. She is still at the stage where her pregnancy isn't completely obvious to strangers. People who know her can tell she's changed shape, but to Durant, she might be just carrying a bit of extra weight, and for some reason she doesn't want him to know, though she can't put her finger on why. Yeah, why not? She feels a strange flutter inside her, and the sensation stops her in her tracks. Is it the baby? She hasn't felt it kick yet. The book says any time between 20 and 24 weeks is normal for a first pregnancy. She is just over 23 weeks now and has been waiting, bated breath, trying to figure out if every little flicker in her child or just a muscle tensing. Now she's completely distracted and Durant has to say, Hannah, are you okay? I'm fine, she says, dragging her mind back to the present. No, I didn't know, but to be honest. She stops. She doesn't want to call this a lie to Jared's face. It will make her look prejudiced, set in her own opinion, but his words have angered her. April pregnant? It's ridiculous. Look, I don't want to be rude, but she stops, corrects her tense, as she has so many times before. I was her roommate, her best friend. I find it really unlikely that she wouldn't have told me something like that. And if it were true, why wouldn't Neville's lawyer have brought it up at the trial? It doesn't ring true to me. I'm sorry. Oh, I agree, Jarrett says urgently. I dismissed it too when I first heard it. But when I asked Ryan, he confirmed. Now, why is Ryan confirming? Hannah goes completely still. She has no idea what to say, and she finds she is gaping at Durant, her mouth open. She closes it, but the words still don't come out, and the silence hangs between them, oppressive. Inside her head, though, is the opposite problem. There are too many words buzzing and whining like bees in a jar. Ryan? April? Pregnant? Ryan? April? Pregnant? Why on earth would she have told Ryan of all people? Unless... Dun. But Durant is speaking, cutting across her spiral thoughts. Ryan's theory was the defense didn't bring it up because they thought it would look like victim blaming. He says, smearing someone's sexual past to distract from what's happened to them. They believed it would go down very badly with the jury, and they thought they could get Neville off by pointing out other flaws in the evidence. Only it didn't work. And Ryan told you this? He confirmed it? Jarrett nods. Did he say why April told him? Jarrett shakes his head. Hannah sits back, trying to make sense of this, but she can't. It makes no sense at all. Can it really be true? Or is this another one of April's pranks? The thing is, she says now, the words coming slowly, the thing that you have to remember is that April was, well, she made stuff up. What do you mean? Durant looks puzzled. She was, I suppose you call it a practical joker, though it doesn't seem very funny in hindsight. She used to do stuff to get a rise out of people, elaborate stuff sometimes. Like she sent Hugh this whole thing about how his mobile phone had a possible safety recall on it and persuaded him to ring up Nokia and go through this diagnostic test. Only, of course, the number wasn't Nokia, it was April. She put on this funny accent and talked him through the supposed test. And I can't remember the whole thing, but the punchline involved typing out what was supposed to be a diagnostic numerical command code. It was back when some of the older phones still had a number pad. Only when you typed out the numbers in the text message, it came out as, I am a knob. Ha! Jarrett says, and then looked slightly ashamed of his levity, as if he forgot for a moment the gravity of why they are here and how the topic came up. So, he says more differently, do you think this was a practical joke against Ryan? Maybe, Hannah says, but it sounds weak in her own ears and she knows it. Her heart is still thumping and her mind is whirling, trying to figure things out. Why would April have chosen Ryan out of all the possibilities to confide in? And why would Ryan believe her? She thinks of April's closed door earlier in the morning, of the unmistakable sound of two people having sex, filtering through the wood. She thinks of the way she walked into breakfast to find Will already there, cheerful and unsuspecting. Could I be cheeky and get you to grab me another coffee if you're going up? I'm sorry, she says now. She pushes away her glass and stands up. I'm really sorry. I have to get back. I've got an appointment. I hope this was helpful. But she knows it wasn't. She doesn't know what Durant wants from her, but whatever it was, she's fairly sure he didn't get it. She's told him nothing he didn't already know. She, on the other hand, has a whole mess of unwanted information and thoughts in return that she is going to have to sift, sort, and eventually live with. Why did I come here? She wants to cry as she turns for the door. Did I agree to this? Yeah, thanks, Jarrett says. He's standing too, and now he follows her to the door, though she desperately wants to tell him not to. I really appreciate it. Listen, I could call you sometimes if I dig anything else up. She stops at that, turns, trying to keep her face neutral so that it doesn't reveal to him all the horror that's roiling underneath. Dig something up? Why? Why will he do this? What do you mean? She says, her voice level. What kind of things? Well, I'm talking to people. Neville's lawyer, some of April's family. If there's something I think you might want to know. No, is what she wants to say. In fact, she wants to scream it. No, there is nothing about that case I could possibly want to know. I want to forget it, move on, pretend none of it ever happened. Leave me alone. But she can't forget it. She can't pretend it never happened. Not if it's really true that she made a mistake. Because Durant's right. She spent over a decade trying to strangle those doubts, push them down, hide them away. But they've always been there, gnawing at her. Why would Neville protest his innocence year after year, sabotaging his own chance at release if he was really guilty? Why didn't anyone hear a struggle? Why wasn't there any DNA at the scene? These are all the questions that have flooded to the top of her mind in the long hours between midnight and dawn, questions she pushed back down, drowned in sleeping pills and therapy and reassuring monotony of everyday life. And now this, the news that April may have been pregnant, It feels like the last straw, something she can't ignore, can't push away. She shut her eyes, then the image of Neville, the gaunt, frail old man in the BBC News clips, floats up before her eyes with his haunting, pleading expression. She opened them again. Fine. The word that comes out of her lips is short, clipped, and almost strangled, spoken in spite of herself. Then she turns, clatters down the stairs, shoves a fiver onto the payment desk, and leaves without waiting for change, with the nice owner looking after her in surprise. Are you okay, pet? She hears as the door slams shut after her, and she wants to say yes. She wants to say, I'm fine, it's nothing, everything is going to be okay. But none of it's true. That's the end of that chapter. Did y'all jaw drop like my jaw dropped when he said that she was pregnant and she didn't tell her best friend, but she told Ryan of all people? Now, was Ryan in the room when she heard them doing the oochie coochie woo woo and Ryan got her pregnant? It's a possibility. It's a possibility because they did have this awkward kind of back and forth at one time that had me side-eyeing like, what's that about? I thought y'all ain't like each other. Okay, so Ryan is up to something. He want to spook Hannah for something. I just feel like he do. And do y'all believe that Hannah didn't really know that April was pregnant? And she could have did something to have April, because what if it was Will's baby that April was pregnant with, and being that Hannah is crazy over Will, she probably wanted to have Will's baby, his first child. So it didn't happen the night that I thought it happened, when she had got her grades and April took her out for a drink, and then April got real mean. It happened another night, but it sounded like it happened sophomore year. So still getting closer. So with that being said, I'm going to have to see you in the next chapter to find out what's up with that. So I shall see you later. Bye for now.